all our members, all our listeners, and all our constituents. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Chamber podcast. We're now down to episode number 28. Enjoy the ride. I know we have. As always, I'm one of the co-hosts. My name is SOSA, and my partner in arms, the co-host, my brother I Just. What's going on, I?
Hey, peace. So some good, brother. How you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Listen, today we have a special episode. We're going to be talking about AI, artificial intelligence. I know it's been a big buzzword that's been out there, and I know it's been a topic of discussion. It's something that's moving rapidly. And brother I Just and I felt like this was a good time to open up the discussion and begin discussing this on our podcast.
AI is something that has fascinated me simply because once I understood the different levels of AI and the entry level of AI, that I knew was something that's been integrated into what we're already doing as a society and as a business ecosphere. And so, just from that point of view, is how we're coming in episode number 28. Just simply coming from like automation, just coming from an entry level, just wanting to destigmatize. And one thing I love about our podcast is that we're always looking to destigmatize the elephants in the room. And as you alluded to earlier, AI or artificial intelligence is one of the elephants in the room at this time.
So, we're talking about artificial intelligence. How do you feel about it? I like what is it that you feel about AI?
Well, and like most people nowadays, there are certainly advantages to AI and
Mhm.
the impact that it has on small businesses. One example that I think about is automating like repetitive tasks that one may do as a business owner.
Yeah, because I know you
So
started using it, right? I know you've been like kind of using it. Like I know we've been talking about it a lot, and I know you have started implementing it like already within the last few months. I know you've been talking about it and showing
yeah,
me.
absolutely, man. I did a little bit of research on it, before I pulled the trigger.
Mhm.
And once I pulled the trigger again, it was just entry level. What really kind of was the buzz at the time was Chat GPT.
Yep.
Then once I kind of looked into Chat GPT, then I noticed that there are other forms of AI apps that you can use that are not as sophisticated, or if you don't want to go down the rabbit hole of Chat GPT and
Mhm.
you're just looking to get your feet wet in it per se, that there are entry level apps that you can use that has a user friendly interface. And that was one that I first started off with and currently still use. And it helps me save a significant amount of time, especially when it comes to repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
So, for those of our listeners and members of the Entrepreneur Chamber Facebook group and those are watching us on YouTube, if you're like me and you struggle with the balance on how to strike in a email, whether you don't want to sound too aggressive or you don't want to sound too passive, then using a AI app to tackle that repetitive task and answer the email can save you a significant amount of time.
I mean, now, and I know you said now, is there any other apps that you use? I know you had shown me one other app.
Yeah, and that was Right Cream. That's the one that I currently use, Right Cream.
That's
You
right
know,
cream. And that's the same, that's
yeah.
more or less for like email, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, for like emails, you could use it for like social media posts.
Yeah.
If you write newsletters, for SEO marketing, it
Right.
helps you with your headline, so that way you're looking to, not there's different types of clickbait. Let me put it that way.
Right.
There are those titles that just capture your attention organically, and
Yeah.
then there are titles that are meant to just to get you to click on the button, whether it's something that's gossip or
Yeah.
you know uh something that's derogatory, more or less.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's all clickbait. You're trying to bait someone to click onto that action button.
Right.
So I do know that AI can help you as far as writing those SEO um headlines, and it just takes me right into marketing too, man.
Yeah.
You know, AI in the integration of marketing is paramount, is very
I
important.
really do feel like, I mean, when I think of AI, right? I mean, I have like two feelings. I have one that it's like fascinating for one. It's like, that the fact that we're even at this point, right? And then like the second one is, you like when you're younger, you see these movies, how like computers, not Terminator, but other ones like how like even Star Wars, I'm like now computers.
Yeah, I robot.
Right, I like the computers are basically like in your life, and like they're
Hmm.
part of your like everyday life. Like you walk down the street, you see 10 people, but three of them might be robots. You know what I mean?
Right,
So like,
right.
so, like I kind of think of that like wow, like some of these movies. I've always heard that like movies kind of foretell the future, and I think that is kind of true because I mean we've been talking about robots and artificial intelligence for such a long time, and now we're actually seeing it. So it is fascinating to me, and I do see where it can be necessary. I can do see where it can really help out in so many industries. I mean, just if you can, just like I want I just not being an expert in this field, but like the medical field and things like that, I could see where this type of technology can maybe do wonders, as far as like medicine, or as far as with certain diseases and things like that. But then there's also the other side of me that's kind of like a little hesitant, a little kind of
A little skeptical.
little skeptical because like you said, this is now we're in a totally different realm. So like I get fearful like how far we're going to go. I think it's everything is beneficial, but just like anything in life, too much of it may be dangerous, and I just want to know, I just hope that that's where really my fear comes in. Like see, the benefits are great, but then also I could also see what a negativity. I mean, this is powerful information that now you could put in other people's hands. Where now
You
like
know,
you could create somebody's voice. You
mhm.
could you can do all these things, and so I'm wondering how far is this going to go, which kind of gives me a little trepidation a little bit.
And you know that's certainly where everyone is at this point, because we know that we have good and bad actors out here.
Right.
I myself share that same sentiment. And there were two things that you said that, if I may, I just kind of want to
Yeah.
recap because I think that they were both profound. And the first one was talking about, how movies foreshadow what's going to happen. And at the root of that source is art imitating life. That's something that's always been around, since plays and Plato and back in those days, art always imitated life. So
Yeah.
you can see where the foreshadowing of these movies, like you said, going back to Star Wars,
Yeah.
and how it kind of sets the tone to where we're at right now. And the deeper picture or meaning in that to me, Sos, is kind of where we're at, even in society, in the struggle between certain groups of people, meaning, especially in our community, in the Black community, I'm gonna speak for
Yeah.
that. I often hear a lot of people often trying to rewrite history, and there's nothing wrong with if that's the route that some people like to go. Me personally, I'm one that thinks about writing new history. So when you say that you got these movies that were written in 1974, but they may have back then said 2023, well, if you lived in 1974 and then the movie said it took place in 2023, that seemed like a long time for you. Like, man,
Right.
that ain't nowhere near.
And
But
boom, here you
now,
are.
guess what? We're in 2023,
That's right.
and they were writing new history. Like, they're more or less writing what they're saying is going to be in
Yeah.
2023. So I think that's a lesson to be learned,
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So, but kind of getting back to some of the advantages, so and
Yeah.
how AI has already been integrated into our lives as business owners, and to a certain degree that we might as well embrace it because it's here.
Yeah.
And there was a tweet that I saw the other day on Twitter, and I'm just paraphrasing, but the tweet was they were talking about the race to AI. So you had the
Yeah.
arms race. Now the race is the race to AI, whether that's going to be Microsoft, Apple. It's
Yeah.
going to be their new iPhones coming up. It's going to be heavily integrated with AI. The new iPhones that are going to be coming out. But anyway, the tweet was saying so. It's not a matter of who's going to win the AI race. It said it's a matter of what kind of world are we going to create as a result of it. So it's here. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? Right.
Right.
It's here. It's pretty much has left the ship has left the dock, and there's really nothing we can do that's going to be able to put that genie back in the bottle. But
That's right.
one thing that I do think is, as a small business owner, as AI has entry levels and it is in its impetus, some of us, we might as well learn with it while it's still young, and
Yeah.
you can learn with it while it's still small
Definitely. Yeah.
versus a lot of times we're reactive, and by the time we try to learn it, it's so huge and
That's all good.
complicated.
Right. And
Yeah, most
and
of
one
us
thing I
like, man,
do
forget
know,
that.
and one thing I do know just from reading on this technology and starting to research it and researching the last in the time that I've been looking into this, this is moving fast. Like every
Absolutely.
day there's new breakthroughs. As a matter of fact, I just saw yesterday. I was watching the news or watching one of these news channels where they were talking about AI. Now they're talking about AI. They're starting to a breakthrough in mind reading. That now
Right.
AI is to a point now where they can begin to read your mind. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, some of the stuff, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like we're playing a little bit. It seems like, we're reaching for that apple that God told us not to reach for. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think about, and I do think about, like, where's it going? Because I definitely can see, a day and time where, maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe where I'm thinking definitely my kids, where they're going to see flying cars, and you know what I mean, and they're going to have robots as their assistants or whatever, and we might see flying cars or flying vehicles like in Star Wars or in these other movies that we see. So I mean, I would not be surprised at all, but I do feel like there is a big fear um, with AI because, again, people don't know. We're kind of like does kind of have that feeling of we're kind of entering in Pandora's box a little bit. But I do know, like, one of the big discussions is people are fearful of what's it going to mean for the job industry. I mean, brother, Justin and I were talking that we were reading that they're saying, like, this could affect what, like 3 million,
Three
300.
300 million jobs worldwide
This could be
that,
affecting 300 million.
potentially AI could replace, potentially,
Place. And
300 million.
I definitely feel like, um, one of the first things that they're going to be replacing is like lower entry jobs, such as like your warehouse workers, your cash registers, like those type jobs that think about it. I think the jobs that require the least amount of training or the least amount of education are definitely the ones that are going to be in jeopardy first, because that right then and there you can teach the robot and create, you can have them do, and that company can save so much money, instead of having somebody, lick the labels or create the label, they can just have the computer do that. So I
You
do
know,
think that it's going to definitely affect those type jobs. I think even like delivery jobs, stuff like that, I can see it affecting. I mean,
so if I may,
yeah,
because I just want to capture what you said. They were two great examples because you know I shop at ShopRite,
yeah,
and the ShopRite near me, I remember when they had like one self checkout counter. Now it has, I think, about 12
that's
self
right.
out 12 separate self
That's right.
checkouts. How
That's
many
right.
jobs, cashiers, has that job replaced?
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
That's right.
If you've been to Vegas before or somewhere that's where there's a lot of, in and out of foot traffic, You
Yeah.
go to a McDonald's, you don't interact with no humans until they hand you your food.
Yeah.
Everything you order, you have to order it through the kiosk.
That's
You
right.
know, you
That's
go to
right.
the airport, how much
Yep.
now are they forcing you to interact with the kiosk versus interacting with the the person that check you in when you go to for your airplane tickets,
Right.
at
That's
that
right.
point you're just really just handing them your suitcase. It's been tagged already, for the most part weighed already. So AI, like you're saying, it is scheduled potentially to replace a lot of those jobs.
Like for instance, we were just in California. Our oldest is in this field. She just graduated from USC Film School, but she's graduating into a strike, a writer's strike. The Writers Guild is striking against Hollywood, um, and obviously for wages and for job opportunities, things like that. But one of the other discussions that they're having, and that they're fighting about is AI. They're fearful of AI too. And again, that's where I think that AI. I think now we're really into because yeah, can it replace some of these other jobs? Of course, but now replace a writer? Like you're going to hire a computer to write a script or to write a movie or to write a TV show. That's where I kind of think like now where I think I don't think it's intended for that because I think yeah, sure, while a computer or something artificial intelligence, they can write a script or whatever, but now now you're lacking that human element, that human emotion. But now I've even seen things that they're talking about giving some of these artificial intelligence emotions. I mean,
Once the bigger companies who are the makers of this
yeah,
AI, it's going to be more of how can it assist the human being versus how can it replace the
yeah,
human being. Because, like you said, at what point are you going to be watching a TV show and the timing is off as far as the joke goes? Because
yeah,
then you're like, man, I could tell that this sitcom was written by AI. The
yeah, no
punchlines
doubt.
are off. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah,
it's lacking the empathy or something like that. Like these are things you can't program into artificial intelligence. They only come with the real deal. I order my nitro gloves from Amazon
right,
Prime, Amazon
right.
Prime Business. And so I had to order some nitro gloves. And this is the first time I saw this button or action to button on the checkout where it says you can preset a date and an amount where I can order these
Repeat the
gloves
order, right?
every
Repeat the order, right?
30, 60, or
Right,
90
90
days.
days, right?
Yeah, and just a couple months ago, the last time I ordered gloves, that feature
That
was
wasn't
not
there.
there.
Yeah,
But that's just their way of seeping in
yeah,
automation and AI,
yeah,
where it's more predictive AI.
yeah,
So it's just really want to pick up and kind of hone in on your habits, more or less, so.
yeah,
And if this is a repetitive task for you, so if you depending on how big your business is or whatever type of business you're in, and you're always having to order candles or, for me, cleaning supplies,
right,
well, you can kind of set what supplies you want depending on the supplier that you use in their website interface. You may have these pre-order preset buttons where you can kind of set them and more or less remove that
yeah.
repetitive task. You know,
I mean, yeah, like I said and forget. I mean, so like,
well, I wouldn't necessarily say forget because things may change. So, like for me, so I may not always have to order, I don't know, 12 boxes of gloves.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But
But
I know I
realistically, you could,
always
yeah,
order
right, yeah,
medium and large black
yeah,
gloves. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So I
yeah,
may preset those, but
yeah,
I may still have to go in because, and if I may, so listen, this is how much I enjoy the human interaction. You
right,
know, you can go and do all of your transactions literally through an ATM or have
right,
direct deposit for everything.
right.
Some invoices I like getting a physical check, going inside the branch and interacting with the teller. So
Right.
Like I don't want to do
Like that.
everything through
Yeah,
automation
no doubt.
and not, you know what I'm saying? So that's how much I still enjoy.
I hate calling these companies and they put that robot on, that robot
You
operator. I
feel me?
hate that. And get somebody live on. And just like anything else, I think I think that there will be positive and there'll be some negative. I remember, when, we got rid of vinyl and them records and then we went to CDs, you know what I mean? A lot of DJs said, this was going to be the death of the DJ. And you know what? It did kill some DJs, not the great ones, not the good ones. You know what I mean? They still found a way and they still were DJing. I was just in California and I saw a little robot machine type thing that was delivering orders. It was, that was the DoorDash. DoorDash
There
little
you go. There
little
you go.
robot machine that was
There you
delivering
go.
orders. So it's going to happen. In California, they already have um,
Lift.
Uber, Lyft, where some of these computers they've already been testing that for like the last few years. That some of these automated cars are making deliveries, are making like
Right.
truck
And
deliveries.
think about like
Yeah,
Tesla. It has a
right.
self-drive function
That's
where,
right. That's right.
and again, that's not 100% safe because we've seen where people who have put that function on and has crashed.
That's right.
Like, see, like I'm like this, like even a GPS that you rely on or people rely on that I
Can be
rely on
wrong.
to get from point A to point B, that's a form of AI. It's
Yes.
telling you the shortest route to get from A to B. But if I'm driving and the AI is telling me to go straight and I'm looking at a cliff in front of me, I'm not going to go straight.
That's
I
right.
don't care what
That's
the
right.
GPS is telling
That's
me.
right.
So
That's right.
the GPS could be like, hey, idiot, keep going straight. Like just because the AI or the GPS says go straight, but I'm looking at a cliff, I'm
Yeah.
not going to go straight. You know what I'm saying? So I still think human intelligence
Yeah.
has to, be at the foremost when we're talking about this AI. And the AI, artificial intelligence, is only as good as the human being that's entering the data into the AI because it still has to be programmed.
Right.
It's no different than, your DNA. You're born with your own DNA. You have your own coding that makes you who you
Yeah.
are. Same thing
Yeah.
for me, that makes me who I am.
Yeah.
Well, when you're programming these robots and systems per se, that's the DNA. Like you're
Yeah.
coding it, you're
Yeah.
giving it instructions,
Yeah.
you're programming it. So it's really only as good as the human being that programs it, and it has its certain limitations.
Yeah.
But for another example is like military, for example. So like soldiers or drones,
Yeah.
that's a form of
No
AI
doubt. No
where
doubt.
how many, you know, airmen or pilots may have not been shot down in the last, wars that America has because they use more drones nowadays.
That's
And
right.
the drone may get shot down where that may have been someone's son or daughter piloting that plane that may have been shot down.
And and
So,
it, and instances just like that, I think that's where, it could help. I mean, listen, fires, I'm sure it'll be a lot easier to put a artificial intelligent robot to go in there to fight that fire.
and forest fire. That's right.
Right. But
That's right.
I just think that and I was telling my daughter, listen, don't worry because at the end of the day, I always feel like the human element, no matter how technology takes over or how much we implement technology and numbers and data and information, the human element always kind of wins out, I feel, because you can't
That's right.
replicate that human emotion. That
At
you
all.
can't replicate. We're all uniquely genetically wired, and you can't really
Yes.
replace that. So I do feel while it's going to be a big part of our society, I mean, let's a great example would be like baseball or sports. Now we know, especially baseball, right? To give an example, baseball is a heavy analytic sport. I mean, it became nothing but analytics the last 10 years or whatever. But what has happened now? what happened was it became so analytical, it became so analytics that the game became boring. I mean, which was already, some people already accused baseball being boring, but I mean it was basically a sport that we did not recognize. So what happened? Now, if you notice, of course, analytics are still a big part of the game, but if you notice, they've begun now to take that information and bring back some more of the human element back into the
Mhm,
game. They
mhm,
changed the rules this year in baseball,
They did. They
right?
got the pitching. They got the pitchers rule
The
now. Like,
pitchers, they took now you can't do, now because if an analytics said this guy always hits to the left and you shift your whole infield to the left, they don't let you do that anymore because what happens is now you've taken something and you've made it robotic. Where now it just looks the same, and that, unfortunately, that is not appealing. That is not as appealing as just playing a regular game. So what they did was, of course, analytics is still big. It's still a big part of the game, but they've tried to bring back some of the more human elements or just the basic parts of the game to make the game more aesthetically pleasing to us, the viewers. Obviously they're trying to shorten the games up, but I think that's a lot of the changes that they did were also some of the some are how is the game is being played, because the game was changed because of analytics, information, data, which is really all that we're talking about. And I was telling my daughter, yeah, you're coming in astray, but I really worried because at the end of the day, what's going to probably end up happening, just like most strikes, you're going to end up probably being in a better position. And, you're just going to have to understand how to utilize and leverage this information, for your benefit. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't, they can't take the human element. Some of these parts in some of these movies, like The Godfather or A Beautiful Mind, or these type movies, there's certain elements of Color Purple.
listen, hey, so I gotta say this because you
Yeah,
brought up the Godfather. AI wouldn't have never said a man is not a man unless he does if he doesn't spend time with his family, he's not a real man.
no
That was
doubt,
from the Godfather.
no
You know what I'm
doubt, no
saying?
doubt, no doubt.
AI
So
wouldn't have wrote that in the script. So
that's what I'm saying. There's stuff.
because
There's
that
human
because
experience.
and
That's right.
because
No
that's
doubt.
a human touch.
That's right. That's right.
That's a human
That's right.
feeling.
That's
Spending
right.
time with your family. A
That's right.
AI robot knows nothing about spending
That's right.
time with it's a human family.
That's right.
So yeah,
That's
I
right.
apologize for
No,
the interruption there,
I think
brother. But
so. You know what I mean? So I think that, while it's certainly a lot, but I think it's information I think we all need to start getting abreast on and start really researching and start trying to, like brother I said, start trying to get ahead of it, man, or stay with it, so we're not so we know how to implement it and we don't have to get taught how to implement it, when it's already been sitting here for 5 years, and now you're just trying to find out how to do it when these people are on, they're on step 10 and you're still on step 1, you
that's
know.
right. It's going to create a disadvantage, brother. The more that we destigmatize AI, deal with the elephant in the room,
Yep.
and just help our listeners, the members of the Entrepreneur Chamber podcast, so those who are just starting out in business,
Yep.
or for that matter, even if you have been in business for some time, yeah, it's, pun intended, the human side of you want you to have some type of trepidation as far as dealing with AI, but these are things that we're going to have to learn to embrace,
That's right.
and that's just another part of business, man. You have to embrace a lot of things that may take you out of your comfort zone, but just dealing with it on the entry level through automation can help you save a lot of time. From my perspective, so that's where I was coming with it, the
Yep.
time versus savings. Because at the end of the day, if I could free up time, especially using AI automations with repetitive tasks, then that time can be used for
Steve,
me to
that's right.
do something, whether that's at leisure or use
Yeah.
that time to do things that are more going to benefit the growth and
Yeah.
the development of my business.
So we just wanted to talk about this today. I thought there's something that it's out there, man. It's like I said, every day it's more and more. If you start reading up on this stuff, it's really fascinating. Every day we're getting more and more information on it. So, brother, Justin and I, we wanted to open a discussion. As you can see, we're not experts on this AI. We're trying to figure it out, just like you, the listeners, trying to figure it out. But I do feel, and brother, I just feels we both feel that was an important something to bring up in the podcast. So I hope you guys been blessed with that. A big part of why we've always been so fly. We're similar in a lot of ways, and one of the things that really bonds us and really is a huge similarity that we have is we're both family men, and our families are driving forces. And I know in what I do, and I know 100% it's a driving force in what my brother I just does as well. And we had some great weekends. We both had some weekends that
Yes.
we both had great things happen.
Proud,
Um,
proud father
we're,
moments,
we're
my
proud
brother.
fathers, right? We both have some proud father moments this
Proud
past
mother
weekend.
moments. Can't
Proud
forget
mother
about our
moments, just
beautiful
proud
wives.
family
Yeah,
moments.
man.
That's
Yeah,
right.
man.
So
Proud
so
father
and
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 mother
and
moments.
and this wasn't planned. It's just I had something going
Exactly.
on. My brother I just they had something going on,
That's
and
right.
I said earlier that my daughter got her master's in USC Film School. But my
Congratulations,
brother
man.
I was talking to my brother I just, and he was talking about his son, his oldest, just got married this past weekend. So brother why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How you feel about
Um,
that being a proud father out here, brother?
Oh man, it was certainly a beautiful thing, man, and I want to say thank you, man, for that segue and and us having this platform. And like you said, so we always talk about business, but a big part of you and I conversation has always been, we may talk business for the first 10, 15 minutes or get it out the way, but then the majority of our conversation would be about family and ourselves, and
Always,
genuinely, how are you doing, brother? And you
always.
would do the same thing with me.
Yeah,
So I always appreciated that aspect of it. And to have this platform now where we can share normally what you and I would talk about in private
yeah,
on the public platform, and to be able to speak about my oldest son on this platform, and you be able to speak about your oldest daughter on this platform, and it all happening in the same weekend, and
yeah. It's
they're
crazy.
relatively the same age.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, man, it was just a beautiful thing to see that young brother take that step forward into commitment,
Yeah,
and be committed at this stage of his life, and saying that, I'm not going to just be one that just lay down with this woman, but I'm going to be committed to this woman, committed to this family, and I'm going to have her hand in matrimony. And I think that was very courageous of him. I was
definitely.
proud of him, Sos, man. The brother was nervous as he can be, man.
I can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
imagine.
Like
I would
the whole
imagine.
time he kept coming up to me, Dad, man, is my bow tie straight? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, for the ninth time, it's
The
straight.
ninth time is straight, bro.
And
You
he
messing,
had he
you
had
messing with it so much, you starting to mess it up.
he had his cufflinks on, so he like, Dad, man, check out my cufflinks, man. How they look, how they look, and I'm like, son, man, you got two words that you just can't mess up on. He was like, what's that? I said, I do. He
That's
said,
it.
forget all the other stuff, man. As long as you don't mess up those two
Right.
words.
That's right. That's right. That's
He
right.
said,
That's right.
brother, you gonna be good.
She
But
ain't
to
gonna be
see
mad at you
him,
if your cufflinks are messed up, but she gonna be mad at you if you mess up them words right there, boy. But yo, but how'd you
so
feel? Like, how did you really feel? How did what kind of emotion did you have that day, bro?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I really made sure that I would have more like what is known as like an out of body experience,
Mhm.
to remove myself and really make this about him, his
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
and his bride, and
yeah,
Crystal. And
yeah,
kind of just sitting back and just really enjoying the moment. So it's
yeah,
because us as business owners, man, we always either reflecting on the past,
yeah,
doing something, and as far as in the present with business, or we
yeah,
thinking above the horizon,
definitely.
and as a business owner, you got to kind of think of all things. You don't have the luxury of picking and choosing what you want to think about. If you want to be successful, you got to kind of think of all things.
Yeah,
So often the enjoying the moment eludes me.
right.
So to really consciously place myself in the moment
Yeah,
and enjoy the moment, not thinking about business, not thinking about myself, nothing but just watching my son it was just it was wonderful, man. It was a wonderful day. It was predicted to rain that day, so and it didn't rain, and the grandkids had a good time, man. My wife
That's a good
cried.
sign. That's a good sign.
Yeah, yeah,
Started
man.
off cloudy, but it ended up sunny.
That's right.
Good sign. That's a good
That's right.
sign for their relate for their union moving
That's
forward.
right, man. And so, with and I could talk about my kids all day long, man, but without being long-winded, at the end of the day, because you and I relationship and friendship and brotherhood go back where you saw my son Davon, six,
No
7
doubt.
years old.
One hundred
So to
percent.
see him now at
So
28
proud of
years
him,
old,
man.
yeah, man. And every time I see you and you like, hey, man, I saw Davon. Man,
Yeah.
what a fine young man he is, man. Like
I
you
mean,
always
I'm
tell
just
me when you
super
run into
impressed
him.
by the man he's become, man.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a testament to you and your wife, man. He's a great kid, man. Every time I see him, man, I mean, he's a man. First of all, he's
yeah,
big,
man.
way bigger than me, but,
Hey,
but
no, he bigger than me too.
yeah,
Shit.
but he's oh man, even when he was younger, man, I always had a maturity about him that I always liked. Always
Right,
had
right.
a type of kid when he was younger, man. Shake your hand, look you dead in your eyes. I always liked that about him. He's just a man. I just can't speak enough about him. You could just tell just by spending 2 minutes with him that he's a great person.
Out, man. So listen, man. Again, man, thanks for asking that question. So I'm gonna flip this right back on you, Sos. I know, Naya has been doing big things for quite some time. The same way my son
Yeah,
since he was 5, 6, 7 years old. Same way I know your daughter since she was 5, 6, 7 years old.
right.
And
That's
if
right.
I may, Sos, she's always been focused. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I remember a couple times me and you were around and she would always come with questions and I'll be like looking at her like, how does a 6, 7 year old think of a question like that?
right,
Like
right,
she's always been that type of intelligent person
right.
and her ambitions, man, and her drive. So if you would, man, just share with our listeners and the reason why, so this is
Yeah,
important, I think,
yeah,
in us to give this bonus segment because us as business owners, you have to appreciate these moments and be able to discuss, family,
yeah.
So again, brother, if you would just share how was your weekend with you and your family?
Definitely. And just real quick, just saying that, I think because, what's your why? Like why are you in business? And, for my brother, I know his why is his family. Why am I in business? Why is my wife and I in business? Is family. That is why we're in family. So if we're talking about entrepreneurial chamber and we're talking about entrepreneurial things and we're talking about business, well, guess what? A big part of that is family because that's the driving force of why we're even in business. So I just wanted to say that. But speaking about the weekend, man, it was just an incredible weekend. My daughter, she's an incredible girl. She's an Ivy League graduated. She graduated from Brown about 4 or 5 years ago, and she was in business. She was ready, was making good money, but she decided to she's in the film and she's a writer, producer, director, actress, and this has been a passion of hers since she was a little kid, and she decided to go to apply to USC Film School. Now USC Film School is it's a prestigious film school. It's not not everybody, only about 1% get in. She was lucky enough to get in, and which is a great thing. So she went to go get her master's, and this past weekend, she did receive her master's in film from USC Film
Congratulations.
School. Oh man! And so Friday was the graduation, but then an extra caveat to the weekend was out of all the students, they all, if you want to do a thesis film, right? If you want your thesis to be highlighted, you have to basically, you have to pitch the faculty, and the faculty is, usually ex actors, ex direct, or current actors and current directors. I mean, there's some famous people that my daughter was fortunate enough to learn from that were actually her professors. They're are common household names that we all know. Um, but she has to present this, and out of all the students, only about 8 to 10 get selected to be able to premiere their film. Because when you go to the film school, your big project is, yeah, you're learning, but you're usually, your last big project is your thesis film.
Right.
And my daughter was able to pitch her film, and her film was one of the 9 people that was selected out of hundreds and thousands of students, to be able to be highlighted for this weekend. So Sunday, we were able to see her premiere, for her film, and it's not the whole film. It's maybe like a 15 minutes of the film. And, the whole
Right.
film is written, but it's
Right.
15 minutes of the film.
So she wrote it, directed,
She wrote it,
edited.
directed it. Yes. Well,
Wow.
she did. Yeah, she wrote it direct. Now she has a team. Obviously, she
Yes,
has
yes, yes,
she
yes,
had a
yes,
team.
yes,
She had
yes.
a producer.
Okay.
And a cool thing about it was the person who did her cinematography was actually her best friend that she went to high school with. They went to
See,
high
there you
school in
go.
PDS, and they actually both ended up at USC Film School. And so it's a
Oh,
great network, and it was just such a blessing. And what I thought about, I always say that undergraduate, when your kids graduate from college, right, the undergraduate. To me, I really feel like that is not only a win for that student, but it's really like a whole family win, because for those 20 years, that's babysitters, that's aunts, that's uncles, that's grandmothers, grandfathers, brothers, sisters. You all played a part in the maturation of that child to the point where now they got a diploma from college. So it feels like a family win. I remember when she graduated, I did like a big speech and everything. But I really feel like graduate school, when they go get their master's, to me, that's a personal thing. It's not, where it's really for them. That's something that they achieve pretty much on their own,
right.
and more like a personal experience.
Now, I know what you mean. It's like getting A's and B's versus the honor roll. Like if you go and get the honor roll straight A's, that's something within that student that makes them want to achieve that goal versus just getting A's and B's. So
Right, right,
I
right.
definitely
So,
understand
so I
that
really
point.
feel like, and she did this on her own. She went and got all the monies herself, and she applied for the grants and everything herself. And so I really felt this is more like when your child graduates from graduate school, it's more like a personal victory. So this was a lot different. We went there. The other one, my wife and I, we pretty much, had the whole weekend set up. We were pretty much the engines that created the whole weekend, the whole itinerary. We're here, we're just spectators. You know what I mean? We just come,
Ah, there you
and
go.
you know
Just a
what?
spectator.
Right. Me and she set up the dinner afterwards, and
You
pretty
had your
much
popcorn. So you had your popcorn.
just had the popcorn, baby. You know what I mean? So she did the whole itinerary. We
Uh-huh.
just, my wife and I, and we brought us our youngest. We just sat back and like kind of just were observing. And man,
Oh,
it's just to see, from that point to this point, it was just such a blessing, and I'm just so blessed for her life, and to have such a good child, that my wife and I raised. It's just, it really, it's a sense of pride that I can't put no words on. I could
hey,
tell you
listen,
that
and that's something that AI, and this is super pun intended, AI can never give you that feeling.
they will
You know what
never
I'm
give you
saying?
that feeling.
So
They can try to put it in there, but it ain't gonna be the same thing. I'm trying to tell you, man,
that's right,
because
bro.
let me tell you that those wins. I mean, the wins for your kids, man. I don't know, but I know you probably feel the same way. But it just feels so much better, so much bigger than anything that you could do
Hmm.
yourself. Any accomplishment that I've ever done myself, I mean, seems minuscule and doesn't give me nowhere near the level of excitement as when I see my kids win. Their victories are multiplied
Hmm.
20 times fold.
Man,
Uh,
that's powerful, brother.
you know what I mean? So I mean, you can't put that stuff into words, man. So I'm just grateful to be a father, and I'm grateful that God's given me the kids that He's given me.
Hey, man. So all of the members of the Entrepreneur Chamber Facebook group, all of those in our community here on YouTube, listen, y'all getting the human side of your two favorite co-hosts in the
That's it.
podcast game,
That's it. That's
SOSA
it.
and Just.
That's
And we
it.
just wanted to share with y'all, and again, to give this balance on this topic, the human side of things,
Yeah.
and and to help give it all perspective. And him and I both had great weekends. We're super proud of our children, and
That's
just the children in general. You hear this, that, and the third. But man, our futures are in great hands, brother. You
Right.
know what I
That's
mean?
right.
There's some
That's
beautiful
right.
children out there, man.
That's
Some
right.
young people out there. They're doing amazing work.
That's right.
And their stories, they're writing new history as we speak.
That's right.
They're not really trying to rewrite history,
That's right.
and they're saying, no, I'm going to write new history. And
Yeah.
then when their grandchildren read about them, that will be their history. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? And the great accomplishments that they've done. And SOSA and I both are just links within that chain.
That's
You know
what,
what I'm
man.
saying? And
That's
that's
what
what it's really all about.
I
And
love
him
what
and
you
I
said.
both talked about this, man. We've chosen a uh a legacy business, and it's all about, what can I pass down to my children? What opportunities can I create for others and myself and my immediate family, and most importantly, our children. And one last thing that I'm gonna say, brother, before I pass it on to you, I have a mantra and a saying that I always put out there. It's our children are our connection to the future
That's
you
right.
know so like you speak about your parents or older folks than you, they're your connection to the past,
Yeah.
and the gift is the present right now,
That's
enjoying
right.
the moment. That's truly the
Well
gift.
said.
You're going to connect to the future through the children, our children, and our grandchildren. So we have to take care of them. And a wise man by the name of Sosa told me, he said to me back then, he said, brother, anything that I can do that will help allow me to put me in position to help my daughter dreams come true. I'll never forget you for that, my brother. I always tell you about those things that you said. We might have, and listen, y'all, we might have been smoking weed with him and I when he said it to me. I'm keeping that.
Probably
Hey,
was.
listen, so
I don't think it's
this,
Mike. Probably was.
listen, this may not make the final cut, but if it does, me and him will probably smoking some weed. Before he passes it to me, all right, listen, man. Anything that I could do to make my children, my daughter dreams come true, I'm gonna do that. And I remember you saying that, Sos. No cap, my brother.
No doubt.
And so I just want to tip my hat off to you, your beautiful family, and all that you do for your children. And on behalf of my wife and I, on behalf of the Entrepreneur Chamber podcast, the whole community, we salute you, my brother.
Hey, hey, brother, I'm gonna throw that salute, catch it. Thank you, and I'm gonna salute you right back, my brother, because,
So,
brother, let me tell you something. I'm not having those conversations if you're talking about something. If you're talking about yourself, or you're talking about what you want to do. I can say that because we're both having conversations about our family. So
yep,
obviously, we're
absolutely.
reciprocating that type of information. And I just love what you said. I really can't really add too much more because you said everything so poignantly and you articulated so great. But one thing that you said that I'm just going to just add on to when you were saying, our kids and we hear a lot of times, a lot of us say, "Oh man, these kids ain't like we was." Well, you
Mhm.
know what? They're not supposed to be like we were.
There you
You know
go.
what I mean? They're
There
not
you
supposed
go.
to be like we were. We're
There you
not. We're
go.
not. We're not supposed to be like our parents' generation. And this new generation ain't supposed to be like our generation. And the generation that follows them ain't supposed to be like them. Because if we all were the same, then we would never have any growth. We would never
That's
be
right.
rewriting or making new history. We'd all be regurgitating the same history that's already been out there. So I just wanted to add that what you said because it made me like think of that immediately. But yeah, man, I think that great things that brother I just said. We talked about artificial intelligence in the first half of this podcast, and then the back half of this podcast we spoke about our families, about the human element, and I think that that's poignant to this podcast, man. No matter how much artificial or data or analytics we put out there, there's still that human element that's still gonna drive all, and you can't put any replication on that. So let's not fear change. Let's not fear what's going to come. Let's embrace it. Let's adapt to it, and let's overcome it. And let's begin to leverage it, and let's make it all work for us instead of against us. And I think that that's pretty much all I had to say. I think that I think we can pretty much close this out, right? Or what do you
Yes,
think?
sir.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
man. Hey, man. So my brother Sos, if you would, if
Man.
you would hit the people with our value proposition, my brother.
Listen. You already know. You already know. For first and foremost, as you can see, brother I just and myself, not only we businessmen, man, but we're family men, and that's what's important to us. And I challenge anybody who's listening to this podcast, find out what's important to you, and make that a priority, and make that the reason why you're trying to win in business. And I guarantee you'll get a lot further. But with all that being said, as always, my brother, I just all our members, all our listeners, and all our constituents. First of all, go to that YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. But after
That's
you
right.
do
That's right.
that,
Let them know. Let
let
them
them
know.
know. But after you do that, as always, please continue to help empower us so we can help empower you.
Peace all and be victorious. Peace.